Science Spectrum friends, hope you're having a great day. Happy Earth Day. Today is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. So we are enjoying the outdoors right now, and we have some animal friends to join us as well. So just to introduce myself, my name is Alana Baliga. I'm the education coordinator here at the museum. And I'm joined with Doug, our animal specialist. He is going to be sharing a couple animals with us. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. We'll try and answer those. But today we're going to be talking about tortoises and turtles and kind of some of those differences. It is a beautiful day and the birds are going bananas. It's great. Happy Earth Day. All right, I'm going to flip the camera around if I can see it, and I can't. There we go. Sorry for the awkward camera work. Being outside, I can't see things very well. All right, so Doug, who do we have?
Well, we have a leopard tortoise, and we have a box turtle. This is an ornate box turtle, and I also have an aquatic turtle that we call a terrapin. We're going to discuss a little bit about what makes a turtle a tortoise, what makes a tortoise a turtle, all of that fun stuff, the differences of, and we can answer any questions that people have about turtles and tortoises worldwide, or the ones that we have right here in Texas as well.
Fantastic. All right, so which one do you want to start with?
Well, we can start with our big tortoise here, and this is a leopard tortoise. These guys come out of Africa, and this is a female here, and she's about full grown as she is right now. These guys are amazing animals. Now, turtles and tortoises, we hear this a lot of what makes a turtle a tortoise and what makes a tortoise a turtle, and what are the differences of those. Well, they're both kind of an interchangeable. It depends. If you're in Australia, most of your aquatic turtles they call tortoises. Now, if you're here in America, we call most of our land dwellers tortoises. Now, all tortoises are turtles, but not all turtles are tortoises.
Interesting.
So they're
okay.
all in the turtle family. Now, what makes a tortoise a tortoise? Now, when we think of tortoises, we think of mainly the land dwellers, ones that are adapted to living on land, and that are primarily omnivores, like her eating grass right here. These guys are primarily vegetarian, maybe a little bit omnivorous, whereas a lot of your aquatic turtles are carnivorous and with a little bit of plant matter. But the neatest thing about these guys is they are adapted to living on land. They have these little elephant-like feet. They're not webbed like you would think of our aquatic turtles. And they also have this amazingly high domed shell. Now, if you're living on land and you're going around and you're trying to traverse the landscape around you, and you're climbing over rocks and you're climbing over logs, there's a good chance that you're going to end up rolling over on your back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whereas a tortoise is pretty well adapted to plopping right back over, and they have that high dome shell that gives them the leverage to get back over. Whereas your aquatic turtles are a little more streamlined, and we'll take a look at those in a moment. They don't do so well on their back, but they're amazingly adapted for swimming through water. So your main differences are going to be these non-webbed feet, these little club-like elephant feet, and that they live on land, and those are the ones we call tortoises. Now, the difference is our box turtle here. Now, this is an ornate box turtle that can be found right here in Texas. We call it a box turtle as opposed to a tortoise. They do live on land. They do have the little club-like feet. They do eat a combination of fruits and vegetables and animal matter as well, but they're still in the turtle family. They're more closely related to the terrapins that we'll take a look at in a moment, so they're still technically classified as a turtle and not a tortoise per se. Mm-hmm. But again, they're kind of interchangeable. They do live on land, so we can call them a box tortoise if we want, and you're not going to be totally mistaken.
Yeah. Can you explain with that one? Because he's closed up really well. Why is he called a box turtle?
Well, they actually, for this reason, they're called a box turtle because they are adapted. They've got this hinged shell on the bottom, and they can retract their feet and their heads. They've got a long neck that is really long, but very flexible neck that they can pull all the way back inside and close up totally like this.
That's so cool.
Into that shell, hence the name box turtle. And that protects them from predators out in the wild that might want to eat these guys. It's one of the few animals out there that actually carries its home on its back. Now, its shell is actually part of the turtle. They can't leave the shell because their backbone is actually fused into this shell. So a turtle can never really leave the shell. It's not like a hermit crab that outgrows its shell and then goes and finds another one. These guys, the shell actually grows as the turtle grows until they're full grown.
What is the kind of the shell made of?
The shell is made of basically, it's a bony, like a keratin type of a thing, so it is kind of a bony plated thing. You have these scutes or scales that are on the top, and all of these have actually a different name. We have marginals, we have neutrals, we have centrals, and all of that. So they're kind of a bony plated shell that they have. So you can actually find turtle shells out in the wild. They'll discolor after a while. They'll become white and bleached out by the sun, but they're going to remain around for quite a long time.
We did have a funny comment. Reap said her daughter said turtles don't like being held upside down.
None of them do. None of them do. Well, because they're kind of out of their element. It's just like any animal. You take them out of their comfort zone, and definitely they're not gonna like that too much.
About how big were these? So these are reptiles, so they hatched out of eggs, correct?
They did. These all your turtles and tortoises are egg layers. So when these guys actually hatch out, your little box turtles, they're about probably this big. They're very small little guys, and they spend most of their time under the leaf matter, under the vegetation where they can hide from predators. Your tortoises as well, these guys can actually, some of the tortoise eggs are quite large, about the size of a ping pong ball.
Oh wow.
And they're going to hatch out at about yay big, and they grow pretty much throughout their entire life. They do reach an adult maximum size. Like this girl here is kind of max out at her actual size that she's going to get. There are some tortoises worldwide, your Aldabra tortoises, your Galapagos tortoises, and these guys can weigh well over 400 or 500 pounds at a time.
Why is it important that we bring the tortoises outside?
Well, that's a good question. We like to bring these guys out, especially our big tortoises. They do what we call kind of a photochemical assimilation of vitamin D3. They actually get their vitamin D3 for bone growth and for shell growth from the sun. They absorb the sun, and it helps them to photochemically absorb that vitamin D within their system. So these guys absolutely need that full spectrum sunlight. In captivity, if we keep them inside, we have to keep them under specialized bulbs with a UV and a UVB spectrum on these guys. But we try to get them outside and get them a little bit of natural sunlight, and it also gives her a chance to graze on some of the good grasses and such.
Yeah. So about how often does like Princess here come out into the outside?
Well, anytime it's above about 60, 65 degrees, as long as it's not overcast, we try to get her outside. We don't bring her outside if it's too hot, but a beautiful day like this in the 70s and 80s, yeah, she can be out here. We come out and we monitor her and watch her, but we let her go around and eat some grasses and get that vitamin D3 that's so important.
Perfect. So cute. All right, so we looked at a tortoise,
right?
A box turtle, which is kind of a mix, but closer to a turtle.
Exactly.
But kind of a mix between, so it's a terrestrial turtle. So
it is a terrestrial turtle.
Spends
correct.
more time on ground or on land than in water. Let's see. Oh, I got a comment from Kelly Victory. My 4-year-old Maddie is loving this. Thank you for doing this for little scientists. Absolutely, Kelly. We are so thrilled to be here. Yes. And thank you, Maddie, for joining in as well. Yeah, so obviously we are closed to the public right now because of this pandemic that's going on. But that doesn't keep us from stopping taking care of the animals. So Doug is here practically every day, right?
Exactly. We're here every day. The animals still need to feed. We still need to check the life support systems and keep these guys going. So it's an essential job to come in and take care of these animals. And science never stops. So even though we are close to the public, programs like what we're doing here to help get this information and get this education out to people and interact with people about science is what we're all about. So we take every opportunity we can to do that.
Absolutely. And yeah, so I mean, it's definitely an essential thing to come and take care. We kind of guesstimate we have around 500 animals in the Science Spectrum collection, ranging from reptiles like these to lots and lots of fish, right?
Oh yeah, we've got a lot of fish. We've got a pretty good collection of just about all of the different types of taxa that we would have here. We're still lacking on birds and mammals. We may get a possum or an owl in the future for our education programs, but right now we're mainly made up of fish, reptiles, and amphibians.
Very cool. All right, well, so we've looked again. I started to say we looked at a tortoise, kind of a box turtle hybrid between the two, and then you want to show us our third friend that we have here?
This is more of an aquatic one, and this is a really cool one because it's not a one that you're going to see all the time. This is actually an endangered species, and this is called the Diamondback Tortoise. And this is really cool because these guys actually live in brackish or seawater. what we would think of as your marine life. These guys will actually live in that salt water along the banks of southern Texas and such, and they're adapted for living in that type of an environment. But they're also adapted for living in water as a whole. We talked about aquatic turtles, aquatic tortoises. You can see that flattened shell to where these guys are more streamlined, so when they're swimming through the water, they don't get much resistance on that. You don't want to bite me. But they also have these really cool, if we can get them to come out here, these really cool webbed feet. I mean, you can see how that's kind of flattened out when they stick them out there. That's kind of flattened out in webbing, and that allows them to swim easily through the water. So these guys are well adapted for that aquatic lifestyle.
And how long, sometimes people will come and see the turtles on display, and they're worried because they're just underwater the whole time and doesn't look like they're coming up very often. So
a lot of turtles are adapted to, once they kind of go down underwater, they can slow their heart rate and they can slow their oxygen needs. So a lot of turtles can stay underwater for an amazing amount of time. This guy here for probably about 15-20 minutes at a time. Some of your other turtles even here in Texas can stay under well over an hour, 2 hours at a time. If it's cool enough, like the snapping turtles, if the lake is cool enough, those guys will stay the whole winter underneath there, and they'll absorb oxygen through, well, through an orifice right down here, but also through the skin and such, through that gullular kind of a movement of the gullular here, that they can actually absorb some oxygen if they're cool enough, and if they're slowed down enough, they can absorb enough oxygen under the water to survive.
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely a very interesting turtle fact, that they can breathe with their bottoms when necessary.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of one of those cool science facts that I know you guys can't wait to go out and tell your friends about that.
Absolutely. So you said he doesn't want to bite you, but he probably does want to bite you. So can he bite? That's always a good popular question.
All turtles and tortoises can bite. Any animal with a mouth can bite, and some are more reluctant to, some maybe not so reluctant to. But keep in mind that any animal out there with a mouth can bite, and it all depends. You know, when you hold a turtle like that, you want to kind of hold them from the side. You want to support their entire body, but you do want to keep your fingers away from.
Yes,
exactly.
He's a little grumpy right now,
and he just wants to defend himself.
Yeah, exactly. He's just trying to protect himself, and he can't really run away.
Exactly.
So,
you know, and something along those lines, I wish we would have brought a snapping turtle with us.
Oh, yeah.
Because something along those lines, if you think about a snapping turtle, if you look at them underneath, their shell kind of is in almost like a cross, and their skin is very exposed all the way down in here. They cannot retract fully into their shells.
Okay.
So their only means of defense is not being able to go into their shells is to bite.
Yeah.
So people say, well, they're a lot more aggressive than another turtle. Well, they're defending themselves aggressively because that's the only way that they really can.
And what's kind of the feature about most of their mouths? Like this one doesn't really so much, but like a lot of them have beaks.
Yeah, we think of it almost like a bird beak. And this is for trimming off. You can see her over here chewing on the grasses and stuff. It's great for eating vegetation, but it's also great for eating plant material and even animal material out of the wild.
We have an escapee just trying to...
Our ornate box turtle here is actually far more carnivorous than a lot of the box turtles out there. This guy would actually prefer to eat animal matter over the vegetation.
That's awesome. Okay, so that one has a little bit more of a streamlined, flatter shell.
Exactly.
To help
He's
it
got
move
the
through
web
water.
feet for swimming. He's got that super long neck for coming out and getting above the water. And the nostrils are affixed right on the end of the nose, almost like a snorkel, so they can just stick the tip of the head out of the water and get the oxygen that they need.
I'm noticing last time Doug and I chatted, we talked about sharks and talked about their backs and their bellies and the differences, and how normally they have darker backs and lighter bellies, and so we can actually see that here with this little turtle as well.
A lot of these guys will as well. And some of them are quite ornate. Again, with the ornate box turtle, they're quite ornate underneath. So they've got a really cool pattern along the shell. A lot of box turtles are just kind of a dark brown, almost a black on the shell. And this is kind of how we differentiate the ornate box turtle from some of the other box turtles that we have here in Texas and all across the United States as well.
What is generally a typical lifespan for turtles or tortoises?
That's a good question. Some of your turtles, tortoises, like this guy here, we're probably looking at about 30 years, maybe a little bit longer. Our tortoises are known to live well over 100 years, maybe even double that all the way around. So there, we've recently had a turtle that passed away that was actually collected back in the days of Charles Darwin.
Oh, wow.
And brought back into captivity, and that turtle's been around for a long, long time. So they've got a very slow metabolism, allows them to grow very, very slowly, so they can live these long, extended lives. So if you plan on getting a turtle or a tortoise, keep in mind that this is an animal that you're going to have a pet for the next 40, 50 years. You'll probably be willing these off to your grandchildren if you take care of them. Right?
Absolutely, that's fantastic. Well, speaking to that, should somebody, if they see a box turtle like this wandering around, should they go and pick it up and take it home?
Absolutely not. These animals belong out in the wild. They've got a niche that they provide out in the wild. And a lot of people do take these home. I'm from the Midwest, around the Indiana area, and just about everybody I know up there is, oh, I got a box turtle and I brought it home, and they just don't make that, you just shouldn't take them out of the wild. Now, do they make a good pet? They certainly can, if you want to provide them with everything that they need. This little guy is going fast.
You can see he's a little bit more clumsy walking on land with those webbed feet.
Turtles are actually a lot quicker than people.
They are. They really, really are. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little slower than some mammals, but they're actually pretty quick. So we got to keep our eye on these guys.
Fantastic. All right. Anything? I think we touched it. If you have any questions, please go ahead and list them. We'll try and answer them. But I don't know. Anything else you want to say or mention, Doug?
Turtles, tortoises are really cool. We find them anywhere that is warm. Naturally, we're not going to find them in the Arctic, or we're not going to find them in Greenland and such. But we are going to find these anywhere that has a warm spell. You know, whether it's down in South America where it's warm all the time, or up here where we do have cooler months. These guys will actually hibernate in the cooler months. But there's over 500 types of turtles and tortoises worldwide. We have about 30 species right here in Texas, so they're a pretty prolific animal all the way around. So different shapes, different sizes, but all kind of the same general engineering, if you will, of these guys.
We apparently helped somebody out, and by finishing their science lesson for the day, they have turtles as pets, and so they're doing some comparisons right now with the turtles and the tortoises.
Fantastic. And if they have more questions, please send them along to us, and we'll be glad to answer those for you.
That's awesome. All right. I guess that's it, unless y'all have some more questions that y'all want to come bring to the surface. But again, happy Earth Day. I'm going to try and get a last shot with Princess here. Not a great shot where she's hiding from me now. But happy Earth Day. Thank y'all so much for tuning in and joining us here for Science Spectrum at Home. We hope you have a great rest of your day. Happy Earth Day. So get out, explore the world around you, and see the nature that's around you. There's a whole lot just right in your own backyard, from bugs to birds. And walking around the park, you're gonna find a whole lot more. So yeah, happy Earth Day. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, folks.
All right, bye.